When it comes to CrossFit, there's one guarantee. People talk way too much. There are no secrets. It's up next.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me.
It's lunchtime. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Lunch with Clydesdale. Here we are again, taking a break from the busy work day. It is such a crazy week. Thank goodness. Thank goodness I get this break with you guys every day. What's going on, Meredith, Frida, John George? I messed up the scheduling of the show today. I apologize for that off the top. I initially set it for 8 p.m. Then John George made it clear to me that I scheduled it for dinner with the Clydesdale instead of for lunch with the Clydesdale. The breaks of doing things way early in the morning and trying to keep up. So we got it all corrected. It's now scheduled for 12:15. We got it up and running. Got it just in the nick of time, but hopefully the notifiers got out to everybody. But you all know we're here every day, 12:15. So there we are. First thing first, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, people. That really helps the algorithm. We really appreciate it so much. Just hit that like button or hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. You know, I look at the analytics, less than 50% of you that listen to this show are actually subscribers. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it's a huge help to the show and it's totally, totally free. Doesn't commit you to anything, just tells us you like us. Then the next thing I've got to talk about is happy birthday to Carolyne Prevost. Today is her birthday. So wish her, if you see her on the gram or any of that stuff, make sure to wish her a happy birthday. She's been such a great addition to this channel. I appreciate her so much. And I hope she has the happiest of birthdays today. So now that that's all out of the way, I got to confess to you guys, like I am really, really struggling this week to focus on anything but the Bears playoff game this week. It's been 5 years since the Bears have been in the playoffs. The last time they were there was the COVID year. They have not won a playoff game since 2012. So I am hoping upon hope that that we have a good weekend. But it is a crazy, crazy football weekend starting Thursday night. With college football and the NFL, there will be 8 playoff games, 8 win or go home games between Thursday and Monday night. So a lot of football action if you're into the football thing. So super stoked there. There is a college football playoff game Thursday night, Friday night, and then 2 NFL games Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 to finish up the weekend on Monday night. So super fun stuff if you're into the football thing. Can't wait for all of that. Now, catch my breath. What's going on, Jody? Kenneth, Amanda, Kenneth, I'll have a shot of maple syrup in Carolyne's honor. That is so nice of you. I love maple syrup, but the real stuff, not like the Aunt Jemima pancake syrup or whatever other brands are out there, Log Cabin, whatever else. But man, you get like pure maple syrup. It is so, so good. Maple is one of my favorite flavors in the entire world. It's probably why I'm a Canadian-based show, or leaning show, as I'm accused of by Kenneth all the time. But yeah, for my birthday, my wife made me French toast, and we got real for live maple syrup, and it was so good. I can only eat about a piece, maybe two if I push it, because like it hits my stomach really bad with that much sugar in it. But I only get it like once a year on my birthday, so that's when I splurge. 2 pieces of French toast and some real maple syrup. So yesterday, it's been leaked, and that's kind of going to be the theme of today's show. Apparently, there are leaks all over the place going on right now. Let me start with this. This morning, I watched Boys Interrupted live. It was leaked that the Chad workout standard was leaked before the CrossFit Games in 2024. And they were giving Dallin crap because he had the standard that he was practicing on and others did not have it. We had speculated that. We had speculated that people knew. There were video out there of people with the box set up, like what happened at the CrossFit Games. But they actually full out admitted it this morning on Boys Interrupted. So there were leaks on that workout. Then you go to what's happening with CBG, and Chattanooga is kind of putting it out there. Leaks or rats. CBG is offering a $500 cash reward. Showed it on camera for anybody who exposes the leaks that are saying that the CrossFit Games athletes that use his program are not actually using the program. And he's offering a reward to identify the rat. Everything CBG does is over the top. That's kind of his brand. This seems like such like 80s mafia movie, pulling out a wad of cash, offering money for the rat. Just seems over the top. I don't even know the details of everything that's going on with him, but good God, man. Like, you run a business, and I know you're so over the top. He wears like the 80s sunglasses and the chains, and he does the stuff, and I've actually talked to him quite a bit. It's just everything is kind of over the top. And then to come on when people are saying that there's, I guess, some evidence out there that people are truly not using your program, even though they say they do. Shocking. That happens in marketing and campaigns all the time. Now you're coming out defending yourself, looking like an 80s mafia guy, pulling out your wad of cash. All you need to do is roll it up with a rubber band and say, hey, I'm offering money for the rat. Tell me the rat. Tell me the rat. I'll give you some money. What the hell, dude? Come on, man. It just, there's better ways to deal with it than that. I guess he threw a $200 super chat into a podcast last night, defending himself. I'm not sure that is everything. That is the way to clear your name or to make people think it's less cringy. It's so damn over the top. Throwing money at it is not the answer, because that's kind of what you're accused of. You're accused of throwing money at athletes to get your name out there, to make your company bigger. And now your solution to it is to throw more money at it and just show people you have some money to kind of clear your name. And it's a real bad PR move. Real bad PR move. But it's just starting. It's on his Instagram this morning. He did a reel showing the cash, offering the money to find the rat. But if you're in this business too, and if you're in CrossFit, let's look at the other side of this. What has let you believe that CrossFitters can keep a secret. I think if you are in the CrossFit space and you watch what's going on, the one thing that you know is that people are going to talk about what's going on. People are going to tell the secrets they know. It's happened this year alone with like James spilling the beans about some stuff that he was doing with Dave Castro earlier in the year. I don't think it's all intentional or it's all like in a vindictive way. I think sometimes these athletes are just young and they haven't learned discretion yet. And so if you're in business with these athletes and they're 19, 20, 21, 24, I'm not sure you can actually release information to them and expect them to keep it a secret. And so to think that you can trust people not to talk about what's going on in this space, you're not paying attention. You're just not, because I've been in this space since 2011. I joined a CrossFit gym in 2011. I volunteered for CrossFit events from 2013 on. People talk all the time and they talk very openly. There are no repercussions for talking. And so they just say things. So if you're in the business side of CrossFit and you're working with these athletes, one expectation you cannot have is that they're going to keep their mouth shut during this time. They're just not. So now to be upset and flash your cash to find the rat, dude, that you didn't have the right expectations going in. People are going to talk. It's what happens in this world. CrossFitters cannot keep the trap shut. They just can't. So for you to expect that and then to come out and play the victim and throw around some cash and say, hey, I'm going to find the rat. I'm going to find the person that exposed me because I'm Joe Mafia. It's too much. Too much. So, speaking of leaks, it appears that John Woolley has been talking to some people and found out that Indianapolis is going to be a tour stop on the WFP again this year. Don't have a lot of details on that. Don't have like when that is. There are rumors that it's the second tour stop. They're going to start in Europe and then do a second tour stop in Indianapolis. And I think they've already announced that Copenhagen is going to be the final tour stop. So if they back down to 3 tour stops again, that would be it. You go Europe, Indianapolis, and then back to Copenhagen. We don't know that for sure. Some of that speculation. But if they are in Indianapolis, I'm going to try to go. I've been dogging on them with my smear campaigns for the last little bit. I want to go see it in person. Indianapolis is 2.5 hours away. I'll drive over. If I can't get media, because I haven't been really kind to them lately, I will buy a ticket. I will go in and I just want to see what it's like live. Like everything I've judged on is what I've seen from their actions around the sport and on the streams. I want to go see it in person and to see if it's any better. So I'm hoping that it is in Indianapolis, and I'm hoping I can drive over and at least catch a little bit of it so I can give a more honest opinion. Well, not more honest, but a more complete opinion after seeing it in person. So that is my hope, that they are actually in Indianapolis. Now, I want to say one more thing about John Woolley. I know he gets ripped on a little bit in the space, but man, these little mini pods he does, I don't always agree with him, but man, he really has found something that isn't being done in the space, doing these short little mini pods on Instagram. And I don't always agree, but they always make me think. And they're very consumable. It's very easy to digest in a short amount of time. And I just want to say kudos to finding a different approach to things. There's so many podcasts out there. There's so many media outlets out there right now. To do something different in a short form is really something different, and I applaud him. And they make me think. And a lot of times he makes sense with things. Sometimes I don't agree. Sometimes I don't think it makes sense, but I always listen, and it always makes me think about the situation. So kudos to him for finding that. Prescott to Prescott-Osigi. I don't try it. His Ravens lost to the Steelers. What a freaking crazy game. If you're a Ravens fan, that had to be heartbreaking. Thank goodness my wife is a Steeler fan and she's happy for a week. Congratulations to your Bears, Scott. Yeah. I wish we weren't limping into the playoffs. I wish we could have won a game and not gone in with a 2-game losing streak, but we're here and we get a shot. So I'm happy about that. Chad Anufi back on the CBG guy. He's one of those people who word things very specifically for a reason. Yeah, I just don't think he set himself up with the right expectations. I really don't. So, and what's going on, Lito? So, looks like Kenneth and Joseph are making a deal to split the ransom money. There you go. Just be careful. Don't mess up. You might end up with a horse in your bed in the morning. Horse head in your bed in the morning. It's hard to say. Anyway. So another thing I wanted to talk about, I was listening to the Monday Night CrossFit crew from the WOD Prep podcast, which is really hard to say fast, with CJ and Claire and John Young. A couple things I wanted to talk about there are, they talked about athleticism, which we've talked about a lot on this show. And the reason we talk about it a lot is I don't think that CrossFit actually tests athleticism very much. And everything is straightforward. Like if you're doing CrossFit, you're moving forward and back, but there's not a lot of lateral movement. And really it's just testing skills and not necessary athleticism. The adaptability, the sprinting, and the one comp that always tests athleticism, at least in one event, is Rogue. When Rogue does the duels, that is the best test of athleticism that I've seen in the CrossFit space, but it doesn't happen a lot. And you can tell who the athletes are by who does well in the duel. When you look at the over under on those logs and you see how people get over and slide under or dive under, you can tell the people that play other sports. And our birthday girl, Carolyne Prevost, is a prime example of that. She is so athletic. If you watch her Instagram, some of the stuff she does by like bounding over hurdles and stuff like that is crazy. But you look at like that event and you can tell who did other sports. Like Jason Hopper is athletic. Ricky Garrard is athletic. He played rugby before he came into the sport. Carolyne Prevost, Paige Semenza played ice hockey as well. Danny Spiegel is super athletic. Laura Horvat, super athletic. Tia Toomey is super athletic. You can tell that those people played other sports before they jumped into CrossFit. So I think it's a kind of great that at least one competition, big competition, actually has an athletic test. What I miss from the CrossFit Games is they used to do that with the sprints, the sprint obstacle course. If you remember the famous video of Dan Bailey losing his sunglasses as he hurdled over an object, that was in and out, lateral movement, jumping over objects and sprinting to the end. that tested athleticism. I don't think we do that enough anymore. The famous 2019 games where people got eliminated because they couldn't stay inside their lines going around objects as part of the sprint. They would step outside the lines and get a penalty, which cost them their game's weekend. Many of them, the penalty was so severe, they fell off and could not recover from that and ended up getting cut from the games. That hasn't happened since then. There has not been a sprint course. There has not been anything like that to test that athleticism. Before the sprints, there was the obstacle course, the full obstacle course, where Mark Phillips reminds us of Matt Frazier and Patrick Vellner's fancy rope dismounts. Yes, that's athletic. It's adding something to the mix that you have to adapt to quickly and show athleticism to get up and over, to go balance on the top of logs, to swing from ropes and land on a log. Those are things that like we don't test for anymore. And I really, really miss it. And so I'm really glad that like CJ and Claire and John brought this up last night because it's a great discussion point. And if you watched Andrew Hiller's video on his reconstructed WFP, where he looked at things like this stop would be a strength biased test. This stop would be a skills gymnastics bias test. And then the last one would be a combination to test all the different things, right? And so one of the things that he brought up was a very similar NFL Combine type of an event. And they talked about this last night, and they talked about it being like each aspect of the NFL Combine being like a 20-point test. Not sure like that was well thought out. If you have 30 members doing it, how do you split the points where there's not just a lot of zeros? But the one thing I want to ask you is, my friend, and I love him to death, John Young, said that if they did an NFL Combine and he did it, he would be able to finish top 5 against the CrossFit Games athletes. Now, I applaud John's confidence. I applaud his belief in himself, but I find it very, very hard to believe that John Young, going up against the Ricky Garrards and the Jason Hoppers of the world and the Dallin Peppers, would finish top 5 against those men in an NFL Combine style test. So Kenneth says JY is a very powerful athlete. So what I will give him is his bench press, not with that pec right now. Apparently the pec's not so bad. He said last night he actually got up on the rings and did some muscle ups. So it's not as bad as they thought. JY may be a very powerful athlete, and he may dominate the bench press. But when you're talking like 3-cone drill, 40-yard dash, vertical leap, all of those other things, I don't see him competing with the best in the world at CrossFit. So Mark Phillips, bench is the only strength component, right? The rest is jumping, speed, agility. Correct. That's kind of what I'm pointing out. I don't see him like beating people at a 3-cone drill or beating people at a vertical. I think people are going to be able to jump higher than John. John George, John Young, face, palm face, whatever that's called, and then laughs. Yes. Mark Phillips, I don't see it. John gets more full of shit the older he gets. Yeah, Jeremy. It's the guy telling the fishing story, and the fish keeps getting longer and longer as the more he tells the story. John is a fairly big dude too. So you're talking like vertical, and I think they do like a standing broad jump too, right? which actually was a games event back in the day. There's no way with his size he's going to compete with some of those other athletes. He just isn't. I'll give him the bench press. He might even win the bench press. Probably would win the bench press. But I don't see him winning any top 5 in the vertical, in the broad jump, in the 40-yard dash. I just don't see it. Chattanooga, make it an off-season podcaster challenge. Let's see Sevy's combine too. My money's on Hiller. In the podcaster world, yeah, Hiller's a good choice. I would go with my Carolyne Prevost, though. My Jamie Latimer. I think they would do pretty damn good. They would lose the bench, but Carolyne's vertical's got to be good. Her broad jump's got to be great. If you saw her broad jump onto the box, was mind-blowing. Yeah, Adrian Conway would be really damn good. Yeah, Adrian probably wins. Nice call, Kenneth. Former college football player now and games athlete and now podcaster. Yeah, it's probably that. John George, this coming from a guy that eats McDonald's on the regular. He would be dead last overall. Sorry, John. Well, now, Jason, I'm not counting. If you're an athlete, a current competing athlete, I don't count you as part of the podcast world. This is just a side hustle to your main gig. Frida, with athletes being more and more focused on CrossFit, their capacity in something like that will become less. I don't disagree with you, and I do think it should be tested, and I do think they should find ways to test athleticism, but even at a lesser capacity, I think that 5 of them beat John, if not more. What I find cool about Carolyne is Carolyne keeps training it because it's fun. She just trains it because it gives her a break from her normal workout day. And if you have not seen her sitting broad jump onto a box, that's athletic. I don't care who you are. That thing blew me away. And to not be fearful that the box would slide out from under my feet when I hit it because of the horizontal momentum going towards the box and trying to land on top and keeping it from sliding while you land. Unreal. Chattanooga. That video is, I think those are thumbs up or stars. Oh, bananas. Those are bananas. Yeah. I had to find the right lens in my bifocals, Chattanooga. All I could think of was my shins. Yeah. So then they got into this talk about what is the ideal body type for a CrossFitter. And we don't need to go over it a lot, but I do think that like back in the day, body type was a big deal. There was a time where the Rich Froning body type was definitely more advantageous than anything else on the men's side for sure. And anybody who kind of came in that was an outlier didn't necessarily do as well. On the lower side, like Chris Spieler, on the upper side, it wasn't until Brent Fitkowski came that a taller athlete even had a shot and hit home runs and things that weren't lifting. There was a time where some taller athletes came in and killed the lifts, but nothing else. And then Brent kind of came and changed everything. And he probably doesn't get enough credit for that because when Brent came in, he was a unicorn. He was the only taller athlete that was able to compete with the Matt Frasers, with the Pat Vellners, with all of those people. And now when you look at the field, it's pretty much all Brents. It's Hopper, it's Sprague, they're all in that. Even Dallin is 6 foot. And so it's amazing how much things have shifted over to that taller athlete. And now the smaller you are, the more disadvantage you're at. And it probably goes down to all of these damn machines, right? Exactly, John George. What's changed? The continued use of and increased of machines. Brent was a true unicorn, great at classic CrossFit. Do you think the workouts reflect the bigger guys? I do. I think that the more machines, the more power output that has happened with those machines, the more these bigger athletes have an advantage. I do. But to give them credit, they're also really good at classic CrossFit. And they're getting better at it. So, Jeremy says, shout out to Chad McKay, AJ Bartow for leading the way. The problem with AJ Bartow and Chad McKay is that they were good at some things, but they didn't have the balance that Brent had when he came into the world of CrossFit. Brent completely changed the game. He was the one of one, the unicorn that changed the game. And all these new athletes probably owe a lot to Brent in showing that it's possible. Like, you have to have that first that comes into the sport and shows you that that can be done. And Brent did that for everybody. So huge shout out to him. But so I think the ideal athlete now used to be when Rich was there, like 5'6" to 5'8", 190 pounds. That was kind of the ideal athlete. And I think now we're looking at 6 foot to 6'2" and probably 210 pounds. So it definitely has swayed upwards into a much bigger athlete than we used to have. Do I think that carries over to the women's side too? I don't know. I do think the smaller athletes are at a much bigger disadvantage. I used to go to CrossFit Polaris, where Christy Aramo O'Connell owned it. She was a much smaller athlete, and she had to work her tail off to be competitive. Like, for her, top 10 was realistic. Podiuming was not. She just didn't have enough. Like, if you saw her on an Echo bike, she could barely touch the pedals and the arms at the top. Her husband customized one, moving handles down to make them lower. And when they did that, her power output changed dramatically just in the design of the Echo bike, because she could actually get behind the handles to really push. The way it is designed now, it was almost like it was above her head to push, and she couldn't get the power on it like she could when he moved the handle down. And I don't know why Rogue doesn't make a version for smaller athletes like that. The row, you can only pull so far. Your pull strokes are only X, right? And then you go to like Laura, who's 5'8", Christy's 5'2". That's 6 more inches that she can pull that rower. And then you look at a skier. For some athletes, they have to jump to get to the handles. So there is a very big disadvantage to the shorter athlete. I don't know if we've seen the trend upward in the average height and weight of the CrossFit athlete. Tia is a slighter athlete. She's not as small as Christy, but she's not as big as Laura. She's not as big as Katrin. And she has dominated so much that I think she's skewing the numbers. But Annie is taller than all of them. Annie won in 2011 and 2012, and she hasn't won since. So I think that is really, I don't think it has impacted the female side as much, other than the very small athletes are at a very big disadvantage. Christy was so tiny. She really was. Amanda, I've hit myself in the face with Echo Bike handles. I don't even know what, like, Rogue is so ingenious. I don't know why they don't have a way to lower the handles for a smaller athlete. It would actually decrease the gap between the taller and smaller athletes. Corey says, jump to get to the handles. You talking about me? Well, if the shoe fits, buddy. Do I have a big old Chicago Bears medallion on that thick chain necklace? No. I do not. Well, then you would have to change other standards, like the width in a handstand push-up for people with longer arms. Okay. I find the width of the parallettes when they go to deficit handstand push-ups increasingly difficult for a taller athlete. So I don't disagree with you, Shannon. I think that they should allow them to spread them out a little bit more if they are a taller athlete. Frida, there were a lot of tiny athletes prior to 2021, but not so many now, I think. I don't disagree with you. I think that the tiny athletes are the outlier now. And Jeremy, bear down. To have your rival be your first playoff game in so long has me very, very stressed out. I hope I make it to Saturday. I hope. Corey says 5'6", 188 as of this morning. Sometimes I feel tiny. Because you are. So we talked about athleticism. We talked about body types. I do think it's changing dramatically. And then the last thing I just wanted to touch on is I watched Hiller's Brittany Weiss video yesterday. Great video. Talk about a cool chick, man. That she just seems to have her life in order, and it was really, really cool. I think I connected with it because she had a severe back injury. And it was the same one that I had. And she talked about how her leg went numb and that she couldn't even like push on a gas pedal because she couldn't feel her leg. And I can really, really relate to that because I went through that. I had the same symptoms she had. The recovery was awful. It really gave me a connection to see what she fought through to get back to where she is. And it's truly, truly a great day in the life or couple days in life, whatever it was. And she's really funny. She, just a great video to watch. It's hard to describe because to me, I felt like it was less CrossFit and more about life and balance. And I really enjoyed that. It was very different than other things that are out there. And it's kind of like what I talk about with the WFP and their stuff that they're coming out. The stuff that they are bringing out is the same old, same old. I tried to watch the Future of Fitness video from the Buttery Bros. Oh my gosh, it's the same thing that I've seen for 10 years. Where this Hiller one is completely, completely different. How she interacts with her family, how her mom's her best friend, how her dad doesn't work out, and teasing him about it. It was so, so good. If you have not seen it, make sure to go check it out. He does a really good job with it. And I've interviewed Brittany a couple times. She's always been fun and energetic during interviews. I did some post event stuff at Granite Games with her. She was awesome. And it was really fun to kind of see a day in the life with her. And kudos to Hiller for putting that out, because she's not someone that you would she's not a top 5 athlete. She's not a top 10 athlete. Her goal is to make the CrossFit Games as an individual. Yeah, she won as a team, and they talk about that. They talk about what does that mean. But she's not like your top 5. And it was excellent. You got to learn about her. Now you want to root for her. And that's the stuff that's the gold that I think. Not taking the top 10, the top 5 all the time and just exposing them over and over and over and over and over again. And we know everything. This was someone that I really wanted to learn more about. It was awesome to get to know her, and he did an excellent job in showing us like how goals can be different and how like she doesn't want to do CrossFit the rest of her life as a sport. She wants to do it as a fitness thing. She wants to make the games, and then she wants to ride off in the sunset doing CrossFit as a class the rest of her life and having balance. And it was really, really cool. Jody, I have a slightly different opinion of that expose, but overall, I think she's an accomplished athlete. Curious to know your thoughts. And apparently, Jay Birch wants as curious to know thoughts as well. So, I just found it very enjoyable. So, anything else on the docket, people? I'll open it up to the chat. We got about 3 more minutes, and then I've got to get back to work. I do have an all-day meeting on Thursday. Hopefully, I can get away long enough to do the show. That's my only hiccup this week. Other than that, we'll be here all day, all week at lunch. Even if I post it for 8:00 at night, I'll be here at 12:15. Sometimes I just get in the groove because my Sunday show is at 8:00. That's what I hit. Messed it up. Last thing I'm going to talk about is Thirdsy. Thirdsy, the stuff right there. This stuff is awesome. I am so much more energetic. I'm sleeping so much better. It gives me that recovery I need when we're doing stuff around the house. When I'm doing my light workouts, it has that grass-fed beef collagen in it. It's not melatonin. Melatonin makes me feel awful. This stuff doesn't. Make sure Thirdsy.com/Jazzy gets you 15% off your order, or just go to Thirdsy.com at checkout, type in the code Jazzy with jazz hands, and there you go, 15% off your order. Easy as that. An all-day meeting, yuck. Yeah, it's not even for my department. A partner department is building a brand new system, and we have to send information to them, and we have to sit in an all-day meeting to make sure that we cover all the information that goes back and forth and that it is accurate, and they pull from the right tables, and that they pull from it sounds even more. Yeah, double yuck. There you go. Double yuck. It is. I am not looking forward to it. I just got it like 10 minutes before this show, the meeting notice. I truly hate meetings. If I didn't have to meet ever again, I wouldn't. And these ones are just mind-numbingly boring. But John George says get a substitute. The problem with the substitute for the lunch show is that most of my people are busy during lunch. Jamie is at her gym. Carolyne is at school. And maybe we get Corey there someday, but I don't think he wants to do a solo show yet. but maybe someday we'll get them there. We'll see. And the other thing is you have to have control. You have to be able to sign into the StreamYard to launch the show. Frida, I completely agree with you. I would rather see it in writing and write comments about it than to meet and try to explain these things in verbal communication. It's much better written communication to make sure we get everything accurate. But people love meetings that I work with, and they're awful. Not the people, but well, some of the people. But the meetings are definitely awful. With that, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it so much. Leave a comment. That helps the algorithm so much. And one last time, happy birthday to Carolyne. Hope she has a great day celebrating today. And we will talk to everybody next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye, guys.